Right now, beneath your feet, an empire is at war. You will never hear it. You will never see the fallen, but somewhere in the dark soil under your shoes, one army is marching toward another. And tonight, only one of them comes home. We like to believe that war is a human invention, a dark and clever talent, something only a mind as sharp and as cruel as ours could ever dream up. But that belief is a comfortable lie. War was here long before we were, and the creatures who mastered it first were smaller than a single grain of rice. Ants go to war. Not a squabble over a dropped crumb. Real war. Organized, strategic, merciless, and unsettlingly familiar. So how does a creature with a brain smaller than a poppy seed end up fighting the same way we do? Let's go underground. The first thing you have to understand is how an ant decides who to kill. It has no eyes for faces. It cannot read a uniform or a flag. Instead, every ant wears a scent, a chemical signature painted across its body that says one simple thing: I belong here. This scent is a passport, a name, and a border all at once. When two ants meet, they touch antennae and read each other in an instant. Same smell, and you are family. Different smell, and you are the enemy. Think about how strange that is. An entire war decided not by what you do, but by how you smell to a stranger. No conversation, no chance to explain yourself, just a border drawn in chemistry, and a line you were never allowed to cross. An ant born on the wrong side of that scent is not judged by its actions. It is condemned by its identity. It never had the option to be anything but the enemy. Does that sound like anyone you know? Now here is where it turns dark. In many ant species, the soldiers are not marching out for glory. They are expendable. Completely, deliberately expendable. The colony treats each worker as a tool that can be spent, and the ones sent to the front are often the oldest, the ones with the least life left to lose. The young stay safe deep inside. The old are sent out to die. This is not an accident. It is a strategy, refined over millions of years, that decided the cheapest soldier is the one already closest to the end. An ant will throw itself into a swarm of enemies without a single moment of hesitation. It will bite down and refuse to let go even as it is torn apart. There is no retreat. There is no surrender. There is only the colony, and the colony does not grieve. Why would nature ever build a creature so willing to die? Because the ant is not really the individual. The colony is the individual. A single ant means almost nothing. 10,000 ants moving as one mean everything. Each soldier is just a cell inside a much larger body, and a body will always spend a cell to survive. When you see it that way, the courage isn't courage at all. It's arithmetic. And ants are terrifyingly good at arithmetic. On the battlefield, they don't just charge in blind. They use their numbers the way a general uses an army. When one side has far more soldiers, they don't simply win. They win almost without losses, spreading out to surround the smaller force so every enemy is struck from many directions at once. Fewer of their own fall. More of the enemy does. Scientists have found that ants obey the same brutal logic that human war strategists only wrote down about a century ago. Overwhelm the weaker side, and your losses shrink to almost nothing. Meet them evenly, and both armies bleed. The ants never read the book. They were already living it, long before anyone thought to give it a name. So they have borders. They have expendable soldiers. They have tactics. What else could possibly make them more like us? They take prisoners, and they make slaves. There is a kind of ant that can no longer survive on its own. It has forgotten how to gather food, how to raise its young, even how to clean its own nest. So it does the only thing it still knows how to do. It raids. These raider ants storm a neighboring colony, fight past the guards, and steal the young before they can hatch. Then they carry them home. And when those stolen ants grow up, surrounded by the wrong scent, they never once realize they were taken. They spend their whole lives working for the colony that invaded them, feeding the very army that destroyed their home. They tend its eggs. They gather its food. They defend its queen with their lives, believing all the while that they are home. Sit with that for a second. An entire population laboring for a master they were tricked into loving, never suspecting the truth. How much of our own history is that same story, only written larger? But the ants are not finished, because some of them didn't just build armies, they built empires. Along the edge of one continent, there lives a single colony of ants so vast it stretches for thousands of miles. Not thousands of ants. Thousands of miles. Billions of individuals scattered across the map, all sharing one scent, all treating one another as kin, refusing to fight because to them there is simply no enemy inside the wall. They have done what humans have dreamed of for centuries and never managed. They erased the line between them. They became one nation with no war inside its borders. And what did they do with that unity? They turned it outward. Wherever this supercolony spreads, it wipes out nearly every rival ant in its path. The bigger the peace inside, the wider the war outside. Peace on the inside, paid for by conquest on the outside. An empire built on the exact same bargain every empire has ever made, and never once questioned whether the bargain was worth its price. By now, you may have noticed something uncomfortable. Every time we described the ant, we were quietly describing ourselves. The scent is a flag. The colony is a country. The expendable soldier, the stolen child, the endless border war between us and them. We look down into the dirt and call them mindless, tiny, driven by nothing but instinct. But what if that instinct was never only theirs? What if the war beneath your feet and the wars across our history are not two different things at all, but the same ancient pattern, running through anything that ever split the world into us and them? The ant does not know why it fights. It only knows the smell of home and the smell of everything that is not. It cannot ask whether the border is real. It cannot wonder whether the enemy across that line ever wanted this war either. It has no room to doubt. No space to hesitate, no moment where it stops and asks if any of it had to be this way. It simply marches. And maybe the only real difference between them and us is that we can ask. We can stop. We can look at the line drawn in front of us and wonder who drew it, and why, and whether it was ever real to begin with. We can ask whether the stranger on the other side is truly so different from us, or whether they simply grew up breathing a different air. The ant will never be handed that gift. But we were. We just so rarely open it. So the next time you step over an anthill and feel that quiet sense of being something higher, something more, remember exactly what you are looking at. Not a lesser creature. A mirror. Because right now, beneath your feet, an empire is at war. And the oldest question it keeps asking is the one we have never quite answered. Where does the border truly end?